All right, guys, we have an exciting episode. I'm here with Robert Roylance of One Nation Party here in South Australia. He's part of the lower house, and he's an awesome person. I'm super excited to have him here. Roy Lance is a Catholic and a English Anglo, right?
Yes, I'm a bit of a mix there.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, because I was Roylance. I'm like, Roylance.
It was an English name, and
Okay.
I touched a little bit of my family history during my maiden speech. So my father was, his background, my grandparents came from England during the Second World War.
Oh, okay,
and,
cool.
Sort of English Anglican background, and my mother was the Italian Catholic side, so you put those two together.
Italian and English, eh? It's a good mix, actually. I don't think I've met many Italian English people, to be honest. I've definitely met, I've met Italians, I've met a lot of, but I've never really met an Italian English person, so that's kind of cool. Did you have that inspiration growing up, that Roman style, like looking back at your history? Did you ever have that as a kid, or were you more into your English side of history?
A little bit more into my English side of history growing up. I was very proud of, not so much like the Britons and the Romans, but just as my family had come from England, and they come from Lincolnshire, if that's the correct pronunciation.
Yep.
So, and my grandfather fought on the White Cliffs of Dover
during
the Second World War, and story goes, he went deaf, and then he came over to Australia, and he enlisted in the Home Guard to continue fighting, and after the Second World War ended, he sort of came to Mannum in South Australia and built a home.
Damn, so you got some fighter spirit in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and your Italian side, have you been to Italy, or have you been to England?
No, I haven't been too many places outside of Australia, unfortunately. I have lived overseas in China for a little bit. Yep. So that was adventurous. It was good fun.
So your time in Mannum, right? So did you grow up in Mannum, or were you born there, or did you born in Adelaide?
Kind of. So my father was born and bred Mannum, and then he met my mother. It was and her family was from Adelaide, like from the city. So they sort of travelled around a bit, and I grew up sort of in a few different spots. Bit of Mannum, bit at Walker Flat, a little bit at Coromandel Valley, and also sort of when you get old enough, you sort of venture out and travel the world.
Yeah, because the reason I'm asked is I saw that you were a ferry operator.
Yeah, for 4 years.
And I thought that was pretty cool because, it's like, it's a job where you're just in the ferry going back and forth, but you meet a lot of people, right? And
you do. It's such an enjoyable job. You go.
Yeah, did you?
You do a 12-hour shift. You're going backwards and forwards every day. You talk to everyone. You got locals, visitors, and everyone just you get to know people really well.
Yeah. Do you think it's had an effect on your output in terms of One Nation messaging, like being in, a country lad? Has that helped galvanise your One Nation views?
It has. Yep. I've always been I would always consider myself as a patriot. I was part of the Army Reserves in my younger days.
Yeah.
I always felt that need, that camaraderie to be Australian, so to speak, but to serve Australia in some capacity.
Yeah.
And the Army Reserves was a way that I did that, and it's a great form of brotherhood.
So you were an artillery gunner, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Originally it was 48 Field Battery down at Keswick, and then it was amalgamated into 613 Light Battery.
So the people at home, was that the big cannons you were shooting?
I did sign up I did want to shoot the 105s, but after a brief time they said, hey guys, you got the mortars instead. So I was a gunner, but carrying around a mortar.
What was that like? Did you get to shoot many mortars then?
Yeah, it was great fun actually.
Aren't they scary? Because I see a lot of Russian clips of the mortars coming out and just dropping down and stuff like that.
I never got to go overseas, but I travelled around all over Australia. The live fire missions were fantastic. You're just there with your mates, you're doing your job, you're training, you're learning. It's something you can only live and breathe when you're part of it. So it's a phenomenal experience. You learn so much.
So how long were you in the military for then? Reserves?
Let's have a look. Several years. And then before I got not posted, so I travelled overseas on my own choosing. So I guess I was after a lot more adventure.
Yeah, I could imagine. So what led you into politics? Why decide to run for One Nation? Why decide that this was the moment for you to step into this realm?
Well, after living in China for a period of time, I came back home, settled my roots, and started working as a ferry operator. And within that time, that's where I sort of, hey, Australia's not the same place that I left it. When I was gone, I come back and it's different. And it was always a struggle. Everything's a struggle.
So how long were you away for in China then?
I was over there for about 8 years.
Oh, okay. So you would have come back and seen a big difference then.
Yeah, it was massive.
And
it was a massive change. And I was not content the way things were being run. And I just saw the uni party ruining our country. You know, no one's really standing up for anything. And when the previous federal election went past, I thought, well, you know, it's hoping, you know, at least not Labor get in, at least someone else. But
yeah.
then you sort of realise it was actually a farmer coming across. He goes, "Don't worry, Rob, cavalry's not coming." And I was like, yeah, that sucks. That's true. So we're going to save ourselves. I'm a working class bloke, right? And I never had an ambition for politics, but the need to get involved became evident. We had to get involved. We can't just let them ruin our country.
So let's talk about the ruin. Like, what did you notice in particular that was ruined? Like, you know, I like to point at things that mass immigration, government overreach. You know, for me, it was the pandemic that got me activated to politics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, usually before the pandemic, you know, I was pretty chilled. I was political behind the scenes, but, you know, I didn't use the Adelaide set as a political vehicle. But then after the pandemic went down, you know, my clients and small businesses around Adelaide were getting shut down. It was destroying businesses, and I was like, enough's enough. And no one out there, this is a long time ago, so I'm not having to go anyone, but there's literally no one out there saying no to the government. And I was like, I have to. Like this, I got a big platform. Someone's got to say enough is enough. And I stepped up and did that. And it came with great risk because, you know, what it was like back then, talking up against the pandemic was like... But yeah, that's what kind of got me into politics. So I guess the pandemic was the big kicker for me. But, you know, I was talking to Chantel, she said the Charlie Kirk assassination was one of the big catalysts for her in terms of her involvement in politics. Was there something in particular that happened that was
was a bit of this combination of, you know, we're paying more, we're getting less.
Yep.
The uni party's running the country, but all these things are going on. The explosion of the far left woke ideology, you know, ruining our country. And when I say ruining, I mean infesting schools with ideology. Schools should be a place where kids learn about, you know, math, science, arithmetic, all that good stuff, not, you know, ideology. Let kids be kids. Now, an adult can do what they please. When they turn 18, they're an adult. You can vote, you can go get a tattoo, you can join the army. You can do as you please as an adult within the confines of the law.
The free will.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, let kids be kids. Let them grow up and let them make those choices later on. Let them just focus on being a kid and enjoy that childhood without this steering them into a place where they're now questioning their gender.
Yeah, it's like that. They're almost like sexually perverting children.
Yes,
I mean,
it's disgusting.
I'm talking with Schiller a lot and others in the community here in South Australia. We're noticing, even in schools here in SA, a lot of third parties are going in and teaching these horrible things. So my next mission, and I'll hope to get the help of you guys with One Nation, is to uncover all the stuff that's happening within these schools here in SA, bring light to it and bring some data. Because one thing that ministers are afraid of is a lot of the comebacks from these third parties or these schools are like, oh, no, it's just an isolated incident. This only happened in one spot. It's like, no, this is widespread. This is a fire that's happening across many schooling systems. Some of the books these kids are seeing, some of the stuff they're being taught, even at young ages. We saw in Tasmania, they were being taught to do LGBTQ stuff and make chants and hold the flag and all this stuff. So, yeah, I'm happy and I'm excited for the next chapter because, yeah, there'll be a lot of information coming out around this. And I'm now asking for parents to be brave. Up to you parents back at home to come out forward. And if your kid's listening at school, that they've been taught some crazy stuff, it's your opportunity to mention that. And I'm happy to hear people at One Nation, you know, are on top of that because it's not even just public schools. I'm hearing things from private schools, even Catholic schools, which is that shocking for you as a Catholic to hear?
Yeah, it is actually.
Like, did you ever expect that as a Catholic or?
No, I wouldn't. You'd think it would be a reasonably safe hub for, you can go to the school, learn the faith, grow up and also learn what the curriculum is. But if you have a faith-based school and then they're now teaching things that are contrary to your values, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Why?
How do you think that happened? Do you think, is it a perversion of the government? Or do you think the Catholic schooling system has slipped a little bit? Or do you think it's got it's been infiltrated by some?
I believe it would be hard to pinpoint. I would say it would be a combination of the two.
Yeah.
Where you have government pressure, you have the incentive of money and, you know, Catholic institutions slipping on their values.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if the Catholic or whatever faith-based school it is, they're adhering to a set of values.
Yeah.
If they're slipping on that, then why even wear that label as a Christian school or other religious institution?
Yeah, it's annoying because I was watching a movie called The Conclave. Have you heard that movie before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it was a fantastic movie. The first 70% was amazing. It's a whole entire movie with great actors. It's all about like when the Pope dies, what happens, and it's like a really dramatic. And then the ending was
The Conclave, was it?
It's called The Conclave.
Okay,
yeah. So it's about the Conclave, the Pope. And it's like, the politics behind it all and who gets voted in. And like there was like one guy who's like real right wing saying we need to get rid of all the blacks and we need to get rid of all the brown people. It was like in the movie. And then there was like another guy's like, no, we need to be like these super like left leaning Pope. It was like really interesting because he had all these like political factions within the Vatican all coming out. And then the movie, and that was fine. I'm like, okay, that's realistic. We have those kind of debates in real life. People have these, especially in Italy, there's these wild views. We've seen all the racism that happens in the Italian soccer league there. So I'm like, okay, this is believable. And then at the end, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, because it went from a great movie to a shit movie, just like that. In the end, they give the Pope ship to some rando, and turns out this rando is transgender. He was born with ovaries. And it was like, that was the whole point of the movie.
Yes.
The whole point of the movie was like, oh yeah, there's secretly a transgender Pope. So I was like, what? Why is Hollywood producing a movie about like such a sacred ceremony, the conclave, very deep, very meaningful to the Catholics, and then made it about this transgender issue? It just threw me off completely. I was like, what? And I was not expecting it. I was actually, as I said, I was enjoying this movie, and then the last second they made the most woke U-turn I've ever seen in my life and completely destroyed the movie for me.
There's a TV series that came out some time ago. I think it was called The Young Pope, and you take it with a grain of salt. Like anything that's produced by Hollywood, you take it with a grain of salt. And it was about this Pope who was elected, and he's like in his 30s or 40s, and I think so. And it was about how normally a Pope is generally in their 70s and much older, and how once you're Pope for life. And it sort of touched on like these factions within the Catholic Church. And in the end, it still highlights in every single institution, men are men. We're riddled with errors. We're going to fall into sin.
Yeah.
And the Catholic Church is not so much is meant to be this. So it is a sacred institution, but at the same time, it's a hospital for sinners.
Yeah.
And so you follow along, even if they're doing the wrong thing, like Jesus had highlighted in his times. There are sinners, there are those who have the power of the church. They're not doing the right thing. Don't follow their example. Follow my example. And that's why we follow Christ all the way through.
Yeah, because I guess the reason I'm prompting these questions is obviously Turning Point, my connection to Turning Point, Charlie Kirk. However, for me, as an Orthodox Christian, and I call myself a pre-dominational Christian because I'm before the heresies, right? I call them heresies. Sorry, guys out there, but
say again.
The heresies.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, yeah. But I guess
we're going to get along with some theology later, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe. But my point is, for me, I think Christianity is an important part of Australia's identity.
Yes.
And right now, for the last 60 years, since the 1970s, there was a strong push, especially economically and politically and culturally, to become like this secular nation, strip our Christian roots, strip the community, importance of church, and just kind of become these like almost atheistic way of being. And everyone's like, oh, religion ruins everything, and like keep religion out of politics. It's like, okay, I would agree with that if I saw the fruits of that prosper into something amazing. I look at Australia. Am I happy with the last 60 years? I mean, it hasn't been terrible. Like, we're not on, everything's on fire, but what we are seeing economically speaking, our economy is terrible. Our education is terrible. I mean, our literacy is terrible. Kids are falling behind. They're getting addicted to everything that you can think of. And then you have this ever-growing woke left, communistic, socialistic style festering amongst the schools and colleges and universities. I'm like, okay, am I happy with that? Has secularism delivered better outcomes for Australia? I would say categorically no. I think it's been an absolute failure. And apparently that's a controversial thing to say. And I guess I'm just kind of dialoguing here, but I want to say that I'm not saying you have to be a Christian, right? Like Richard Dawkins, famous atheist, very famous atheist. I love Richard Dawkins growing up. And he says he's a cultural Christian, right? You can be an atheist, not spiritually believe in Christianity, but understand that the rules that guide us through Christianity, the Christianity rules themselves, have, in my opinion, created the best circumstances for Western civilization, right? Do you feel like that's a sentiment that One Nation or you personally or anyone else out there could resonate with, or do you think that's silly and that's like you're gonna lose the election, George? Shut up! Stop talking about Christianity all the time. Do you think that there's some pathway for Australia kind of recognising its identity again, or do you think that time is gone?
I don't think it's gone. I think this is a moment for every single individual out in Australia to sincerely search their soul and what is it that you believe? Because in today more than ever, if you ascribe to a spiritual belief or a religious belief, you must understand, like, what does that all entail, and do I really believe that? Am I convicted enough to follow the dogma or the institution, the values, or the spiritual beliefs, whatever it is, whatever religion you choose or whatever spiritual pathway you have, you must be convicted. If not, why have it? If you're saying, well, it's only applicable here and not applicable there, you can't be black and white about that.
Yeah.
I think this is a moment for Australians to look inwards as well, because as we see the decline of morals as well, that's infested look at the corruption, look at the wastage. Clearly that's a massive sign. It's a time for us to look at ourselves, but also let's stick together, band together. And if I can touch on, maybe in the last 100 years, Christians didn't do themselves a favour. They've been bickering and fighting. Look at the last 1970s with the Protestants and the Catholics fighting in Ireland. It's terrible. This is the time for Christians to put aside their differences, and if you believe in Christ, come under that one umbrella and say, before we could have these debates or theological discussions, Orthodox, Catholic, Protestant, whatever it might be, we got to address the elephant in the room, and that's an outright attack on our faith and the decline of morality in our society.
Yeah, it's true, because if you think about it, like I was thinking about this, I think 2 days ago, I was thinking, okay, because we were discussing this on my podcast called The Chamber. I have a podcast and I do it with Scott Challen, Joel Jamal, head of Turning Point Australia, Edward Schuller and Brody, right? And we were going, imagine if all the internet turned off and the world went dark, right? And it was just like the chaos of that. And I was just thinking, like, in today's times, you've got 60% of the population who are secular or atheists. So they don't even believe they have souls, right? They don't even believe in a higher being. They're essentially just like biological machines, right? Their morality is built subjectively. Their morality is built on things that is not spiritual or higher than them. So they've kind of manufactured these morality points, right? If the world went to hell, and you have 6% of the population who don't even believe they have souls, I'm like, well, what would happen to morality if the government itself collapsed? What would that look like if there was like a full-on fallout? And then I was thinking, what if it was the opposite? What if 90% of the world was like truly Christian, had the morality of Christ, followed the commandments, followed the morality of what Jesus spoke about through the Gospels? What kind of, would you prefer a world where you fall out with 90% of the population being Christian or 90% of the world being atheist? I'm like, probably choose the 90% Christians, because at least I know, well, hopefully, these Christians, yes, they're sinners, and yes, all of us are sinners. They probably won't try and kill me over a potato or something like that, where, I don't know, have you ever thought about what kind of world we're moving into in terms of, you kind of mentioned it with even the way government overspending and you're seeing culturally, we have these degenerate behaviours, like with stuff like OnlyFans popping up, like most young women all across the world now, especially in the Western worlds, a huge career choice in them if they're slightly attractive is, oh yeah, I'll just do OnlyFans and make millions of dollars and sell my body online. And then you have men who are falling into these like incel groups where they're not even trying anymore. They're kind of black-pilled themselves, or getting into paganism, or getting into like neo-Nazism, or whatever they get into. That's my concern. I mean, it'd be nice to see. I think if one nation could address this, I think it has to come through education, right? Like, where else would you how would you heal such a thing? Do you reckon?
I certainly believe One Nation's the party and the vehicle to challenge this monstrosity of a uni party that we're facing. It's hard to debate religion when you're struggling to put food on the table, when you get a bill and it wipes out your savings. God forbid your washing machine breaks and you have to pay for that. People are struggling to get their rent out there, to pay for their mortgage, pay for their bills. People are really hurting out there. And so you're being chipped away from all these different angles. So I know some are saying One Nation needs to encompass that strong bull charge with Christianity. That is part of we're all part of this faith, whether you have that faith or not. But we want to see the change in Australia. We want to see this flag being flown proudly.
Yeah.
At every school, let's not be ashamed of this.
Yeah.
Why? What for?
Yeah.
Our soldiers fought and died under this flag.
Yeah. No, it's kind of sad, the hatred around the flag.
Mm-hmm.
And even the Labor, they had their 50th anniversary thing here recently. I'm not sure if you got to sneak in there or something, maybe. It'd be funny. But
well, you did see the newsreels only a few days ago where there were who was it? Was it unions with Albo? I've forgotten the exact source, but they were looking to omit the Australian flag.
Yeah.
What for?
Yeah, they want to get rid of it.
This is not about colonial oppression. What happened in history happened, and there's been oppression around the world. We don't live under that society here.
Yeah.
Anyone, any person, doesn't matter what you believe, how you live your personal life, you go out there, you're a free person.
Yeah.
Right? But unfortunately, you're being weighed down by this massive financial burden that they've created.
Yeah, you're right. What I'm hearing from you is that you think that solving the economy, getting people back on their feet, making the economy a thriving thing is what's going to help people generally. Because if they're succeeding with business, they're succeeding with their families, then they can be more open to things like community, theology, culture, and become a less degenerate, essentially. So you're saying that the Uni Party itself has created extremism through their poor governance, essentially.
Yes.
And
it's allowed far left extremism to fester.
Yeah.
And it's just so evident every time you turn on the ABC, which we pay for, which you and I pay for, however millions, close to $1 billion it costs us to see this garbage on TV. You look at what happened when they're recently when they had that show about torturing Gina Reinhardt. What for?
Yeah.
What was the purpose of that? Did your ratings go up? We're paying for that. What sort of garbage is put on TV?
Yeah, there's a lot of hate for Gina Reinhardt. And like, to be fair, like on my personal, I've got no issue. The only thing I've ever had an issue with Gina is when she said we need to give land to Israel for free. I was like, come on, why would you say that? Just like, even if you believe it, just don't say it. Just like, why would you say that? Like, why hurt your movement by saying something like that? Ridiculous. And that goes through any country. Like, if she said China, she said Germany, if she said Greece, like if she said Greece, we'll give free land to Greece. I'll tell her, I'd be like, no, we're not giving free land to Greece. You don't need to give, Australia's our country. This is our land. And this is my view, by the way. You mentioned the pre-colonisation and the colonisation aspect. And this is my view, by the way, no one else's view. At the end of the day, pre-colonisation, the Aboriginals had a high murder rate. It was 15 to 30% murder rate. They were in rape gangs. They had rape warfare. They did child sacrifice. They weren't some tree-loving hippies that walked around and lived the land as... That's kind of what gets portrayed in the schooling systems. Then the education has slipped so much. Look at the true archaeologists that came through, the historians, what they recorded. It was a violent, brutal place. We've looked at the skulls, we've looked at the skeletons, we've seen the markings of how violent and brutal this nomadic culture was previously, before colonisation. So I'm not saying it justifies the genocide, of course not. But what I'm saying is that for some reason we've manufactured this fantasy that the Aboriginal culture was some tree-loving, all-loving, peaceful people, when they weren't. They were war-tribing, suicidal, child-sacrificing, even records of cannibalism in some parts. Not as much as New Zealand, by the way, which is, I'm not sure if you looked at New Zealand's history with their...
With the Maori?
Oh, the Maoris, yeah, their cannibalism was crazy. Like,
really?
Oh yeah, they would literally eat people. They would literally eat people because they believed they would capture their power and essence, and they would call it mana. And it was, so it's a big part of Maori history.
That sort of belief is quite prevalent in a lot of, I guess, the sun worshipping or
in nomadic tribes, paganism,
the sacrificing religions. That's
the Aztecs, the Mayans.
I'll look into that. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, look, it's a fascinating. Look, I love history, and a lot of history shows that before Christianity, like you remember, Christianity was the first time in human history that humans were told by any figure that our souls are divinely equal. That as a concept was revolutionary. To think that your soul is equal to another. Before that, you had the kings, you had leaders, you had commanders, you had tribe leaders, and they were superior, they were divine, and you were like a nothing peasant or a slave. And then Christ came along and said, no, actually, we're all divinely equal. And that was like, what? How dare you say that?
And you can see how, say, Labor and the Greens have taken Aboriginal culture and run off with it as a form of wokeism, and they've thrown it out there, and they're saying, look, because of they've been here for 65,000 years or whatever it might
If that's
be.
even true, I don't know.
You must do this. You must behave like this now. Hang on, we've built our country already.
Yeah.
We have the proper set of protocols in place. We don't have to be ashamed of who we are just because I'm white, just because I'm straight. So what? Let me get on with my life. Stop trying to make me feel guilty for something that my ancestors did or did not do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not responsible for the sins of my father.
Yeah.
You understand? You know,
and your ancestors.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and terrible things have happened.
Yeah.
You know, in all places of the world. But I'm not personally responsible for that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put food on the table for my wife and kid and help my family. And we're just sick of this stuff being pasted on our faces, on our everywhere in our
Because
streets.
it's been weaponised.
It has been weaponised.
And
And look at the RSLs.
Yeah.
And now that just draws in another extreme crowd because they're pushing back against it. Let the dawn service, let the respect for our fallen soldiers be just that, a solemn place for respect and dignity.
It's also supposed to be a time capsule. Like the Anzac Day, the whole ceremony is supposed to be a time capsule. It's supposed to be a moment in time, free from this modern age wokeism. It's supposed to just, when I heard the Welcome to Country for the first time at the latest Anzac Day, I was like, almost shocked. I was like, it just was like a third wall has broken. I was like, completely taking me out of me respecting the Anzacs. And yes, there was Aboriginal Anzacs, of course there were, but that's not the point. The point is, one day a year we come together and we celebrate something as it is. And as an Orthodox Christian, I have a huge respect for tradition. My entire faith is based on sticking to tradition, right? For 2,000 years, we stuck to tradition and nothing has changed. That's kind of the point. So can Australia not have its own tradition? Can we not stick to it for at least 60 years? Like, we don't need to change everything. We don't need to change the flag. We don't need to change Anzac Day. We don't need to change the population, the demographics. We don't need diversity. I'm happy as an immigrant. Like, I come from an immigrant family, but we had a very strict immigration policy. Look, we had the previous Labor government, before they went completely crazy, have very strict policy around immigration. When they brought the Greeks and Italians in, they looked at factors like, are they Christians? Yes, the Italians were Catholics, the Greeks were Orthodox. They were hardworking people. They had a talent in building. Bring them in, makes sense. Now, we've got this uni party, as you said, government flowing through people just to prop up this false economy, to hide the fact that they've failed. The last 30 years has been an absolute failure. So right now we need to hit the brakes, right, and go, okay, we need full economic restructure. We need better policy around productivity. We need to completely change the way our compliance system works. We have way too many rules. It's way too hard for businesses to make money.
Cut that red tape.
All that red tape needs to go. It's way too hard for them to pay the bills. Electricity is too expensive, right? We contribute, and I'm sure you guys through One Nation will talk about this, our electricity prices and the amount we've paid to do this net zero thing, and Snowy Hydro 2.0, all these things has been absolutely catastrophic for this economy. You know, we should be a nuclear powerhouse, we should have coal, we should have steam, we should have everything. I'm not saying no to renewables, by the way. I'm just saying we should have all of it. Why can't we have everything?
That's exactly what I touched on, especially during the campaign, was One Nation is that group, that political party. We are one people here. It doesn't matter whether you've been here 65,000 years or 5 minutes. We are one people under one flag for one nation. Right, pun intended. Right? But what was good for the country 50 years ago may not be good for the country right now. And we get this bad rap from the media because, you know, of course they're always trying to make us look like the boogeyman.
Yeah.
And if we spook them, you know. But all we asked for was a migration cap for a period of time to ensure our infrastructure catches up. That means schools, houses, police stations shouldn't be looking at how many numbers, although we came out, the party said about 130,000 per year. That's an acceptable cap for a period of time. We should be looking at how many houses we can build. Now the government's racing to build homes, but the door is still open, right? It's not migrants' fault. Yeah. You don't blame them.
Yeah.
You blame the guy who left the tap on and it's flooding the apartment.
Yeah, and look, you don't blame the migrants because otherwise I'd be blaming myself, right? But there needs to be some strict controls around migration, the type of ideologies. Like, this is the issue of another issue with secularism, right? And this is to atheists as well. There, I'm not saying we ought to be free-loving Christian hippies running around with crosses around our necks. What I'm saying is, if you are a secular country and you don't have a objective definition of theology, and then you bring in a bunch of people from all across the world who have all these different theologies, who have all these different cultures, it's going to create power plays. Because these theologies, you have Islam, right? Extremely, I guess it's a young religion. It only came out 700 AD with Muhammad. Muhammad himself was a war leader, a tribal leader. He was very successful at what he did and was very, very outgoing, very, very ambitious. So it's a very ambitious religion. They see the world in two spheres. The world of peace, which is around Sharia law, a world of peace where the country itself is represents as an Islamic rule, like for example, the Republic of Iran or whatever, right? And then you have the other theological side of it, which is the world of war. So any country that's not Islamic or doesn't have Sharia law is considered a world of war. So without having judgment on that, just listening to that objectively, when you throw that into the mix, no one's saying there's no good Muslims out there. Of course I'm not saying that. But on a theological level, there's a level of competition, right? It's like having two sporting teams, or three sporting teams, because you can even argue you have Judaism as well, Christianity and Islam, all different competing ideologies, all competing. It's like three different teams trying to compete for one spot. Of course there's going to be battles. Of course there's going to be fights. And of course there's going to be eventually one winner. At this rate, with the way the population movements are going, the way fertility rates are looking, in the next 50 years, Islam will be the most dominant religion in the world and will completely dominate, not just Europe, like we're seeing in Spain right now with tens of thousands of illegal migrants are flooding into the country.
Just saw that this morning.
Yeah, terrible. And people are, and you got Batuva Advocate saying, Batuva Advocate, which is like a Labour arm machine, saying, oh, they don't even know what Spain is. It's like, that's like saying, New Zealand just invaded Tasmania, so it's not really Australia. I'm like, no, Tasmania is Australia. This part of Spain is Spain. And those guys, those tens of thousands of military men, do you think they're just stopping there for a cup of tea? No, they're going to keep moving and they're going to head towards the mainland. And that's tens of thousands of military men. And by the way, reports are showing that a day or two before those migrants came through, that Morocco just unleashed a bunch of prisoners from their prisons. So these aren't just like kind, loving people. These could be murderers, rapists. Who knows what kind of degeneracy is happening through there. And it's scary to hear the left justify and try and make excuses for this. And you're looking at the footage of these like white women, these white like lefty woke women hugging these migrants and welcoming them into the country and like waving them in, come in. It's like, what is going on? What is that?
In some countries, if you cross over the border illegally, you go to jail.
Yeah.
Not here.
Yeah.
There are obviously some values that are incompatible with Australian society. If you come here to Australia and you've got the intention to integrate, to be part and still be proud of where you come from and your culture and your religion, fantastic. But if you've come here with a view that they're the enemy, we're here to kill, rape and destroy, and I'm going to implement my way and views, we don't need that. Get out. That's not acceptable. And the Australia I know will never accept that incompatibility because we don't want that. We're a nation of, I won't say easygoing, but we don't get involved in other people's affairs. We keep to ourselves as reasonably well. Whatever you believe is what you believe.
Yeah, laid back.
But as long as you're following the law, as long as it's not like trying to kill me over it. But as you see in parts of England where you have rape gangs running the show, you can't have that here.
No, but we're getting that. And this is my problem, right? We say all these things, right? You're a member of Parliament. I'm a commentator, been a staffer.
Can I touch on something?
Yeah.
It's really disappointing when you see the Labor government who they don't adhere to the Australian values. And you can pinpoint that out because earlier this year, and I think it was in January, when Penny Wong gifted $50 million to Afghanistan. Well, who's the government of Afghanistan?
Taliban.
The Taliban, right? So the people you're trying to protect are the same people being oppressed. You're going to hand over 50 million big ones to a government that's actively oppressing people and throwing people off roofs and cutting heads off. We were at war with them. Our lads were over there fighting. Died. Yeah, many of them died.
Yeah.
Come back.
Sam Bamford's family members.
That's right.
And
on top of that, you had the Bondi massacre. It's a terrible incident that should have never happened. A failure of our institution and our security agencies that failed to stop that. When you had the Albanese government that failed to call out Islamic extremism for what it is, you're starting to think, are they the acting government or are they terrorist sympathisers? I'm not being mean here, but when you're playing this card and then you go after the Bondi incident, you're now blaming farmers for having too many guns. What's your prerogative? How
Disarm
are you running?
the people.
Yeah.
Well, to disarm the people, right? The reality is they got rid of machetes, they got rid of swords, and now they're getting rid of guns.
Machete bins solve the problem. We didn't have enough machete bins, that's the problem.
Yeah, very expensive machete bins.
Yeah.
Same cost as a
Very
Ferrari.
expensive machete bins, yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They want to disarm us. They want to put in I'm not sure. I don't want to speak too much on this, but I'm seeing footage out of Asia of drones being used to monitor people. To they can't allowed to go for a swim. Their drones will sweep over them, with flashing lights, saying "Get out of the water, get out of the water." Or you're not wearing a helmet. The drones will follow you and tell you, "Put your helmet back on. Put your helmet back on." So
that's why every Australian needs to be involved in politics, because we have a very fragile democracy. It's not perfect, but it is fragile. And it is our mechanism to use our voice, to get our voice out there. If I don't agree with something, you can go to your local representative, your MP. And if that fails, you keep going up higher. You have these avenues to voice your concerns. If we don't protect our democracy, it will crumble. And if people are starting to lose faith in the system and losing faith in the government that's ruling over us, it will be anarchy.
Yeah. Look, it's a tough position for me because for me, I believe Christ is king, right? I believe that the only way to true salvation is through Christ,
Amen.
right? So, but I do understand that these two other theologies, you have Judaism that don't see Christ as Son of God. And I mean, they might respect him, but some of them don't. And then you have Islam who, see Christ as a prophet, but they don't see him as Son of God. So it's not a true salvation. I guess my point is, a member of parliament, me, or whoever's out there, we've got this laid back, we can't say this out loud. The time is now to say this. Like my friend Joel Jamal said this. Imagine we're at a bonfire and someone just threw a gas canister in the bonfire. Right? That's Australia right now. We have a gas canister in the fire. What's the best thing we can do? We need to run in that fire. We might get burnt, and we need to pull that gas canister out before it explodes and shrapnel goes everywhere. We're at that point now. The gas canister is in the fire, and we're all sitting here going, "Oh, should we jump in? Should we jump in? Jump in! We need to jump in. It's time for you to be yourself. I'm not saying you're gonna be crazy, you're gonna be violent, but stand for your beliefs. If you believe Australia has an identity, if you believe being a man is an identity, if you believe female is an identity." If you believe in moral reality, the time is now to get involved with politics. And I'm happy people like you are in politics. It's very refreshing, by the way, to hear a member of parliament.
I'm just a working class guy, and I just had it up to here with everything.
Yeah.
That's where I got on. And when it wasn't just me, when I was on that ferry, you're talking to people every day, farmers, visitors, other residents who are coming past, and you're just hearing their concerns over and over. It's the same thing. And you start speaking it to other people elsewhere. And so on my campaign trail, when you're out there, you're dropping off leaflets, you're knocking on doors, you're asking people, how are you, what's going on, what are your concerns? They're telling you, I'm struggling, and I'm sick to death of the wastage that's happening. It doesn't take much to understand that we are struggling as a people. The country is struggling. They're laughing at us. How does Albanese walk into any delegation and have the respect from his peers? It's just not going to happen. They're laughing at us. They're watching us drown.
And it's ridiculous. They've even with Jacinta Allen recently being kicked out, and they replaced her with Ben Carroll, who's just an ugly version of Peter Malinauskas. Let's be real, fake Catholic. Sorry, Peter, but actually, to be fair, and I know it's a gameplay. He did vote for the abortion bill.
He did,
which is
as long as along with the Treasurer and Ashton Hearn, yes,
Tom. But the problem with that is, I don't know. It's too, for the Premier, it's too good to be true, because obviously if he is a Catholic, he genuinely believes that, then good on him. But I mean, Joanna and I have spoken, and we had a little debate online about this. I don't know if it feels like a sincere thing. Joanna thinks it's a manipulative tactic, because he knew the party was going to get it off, right? So that wasn't going to go through. So can you kind of go through that? What was that like for you?
On that night?
Just the whole night, the whole experience, it's a pretty intense bill.
Yeah, I was kind of concerned that they rushed it through. So Chantel tried to move the motion to have it postponed so we could engage in further debate on it, but they wanted to debate it there and then that night.
Yeah.
So it was all hands on deck. You sort of got a mountain of paperwork that you're trying to get through, and you're trying to get all this done. And I believe in that chamber that night. I believe a lot of people were being as sincere as possible. It wasn't a place where everyone was calling out, everyone's a hater, you do this, you do that. I think everyone genuinely went into that chamber and had a conscience vote. I know we as a party, it was a combination of being a conscience vote and as a party line. It's a very tough call, and I understand not everyone's going to have the same view as you, and I think it was monumental that it even passed the upper house first and then came down
historic,
to us.
Yeah.
That means it's of significant value.
Yeah.
We had the chance to vote on that, and we did.
What was that like for you though to deal with? Did you think did it give you some sort of hope that you could get some more? Because you could argue that was almost like the first kind of Christian bill, in terms of Christian spirit bill, in the history of Australia almost for a long. I mean, I'd say almost in the history of Australia
for a long time.
Probably, yeah, at least probably 50 years. That was Christian-esque, getting through Parliament, or at least a House of Parliament. Pretty remarkable. So did that give you some hope? Do you feel like there's other bills like? Are there anything that you don't have to reveal your secrets here, but you know what kind of things are you looking at now? And because I asked Chantel, like, what does she care about? She cares about education and family. What is your, like, what kind of legacy do you want to leave as a member of Parliament? What kind of things do you want to get done in your time as a member of Parliament?
I'll answer it in two parts. What I want to get done is mainly for my electorate. Infrastructure, roads is a big one. Health services. We just need the basics kept up. That's what we're asking for. And as we're
so the roads are bad down there? Like dust?
Like some of the roads are falling apart. Potholes,
it's bad?
Yeah, they're bad.
Because when I was in Port Lincoln, when I worked for One Nation back in the day, when I was at State Parliament, their problem was that the roads were so bad that there was a lot of dust, and it was very dangerous. Do you have the similar problems down there?
There are some segments of road that are terrible, and some are good. It just needs, because we've got a large amount of freight traffic, because the Palmer Wind Farm will be built, I think it's already under construction, we're just seeing increased amounts of traffic. It's just part of life. It's not about politics, it's just about keeping those roads maintained.
And they're not feel maintained right now?
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, there might be construction works that I don't know about that's happening right now, but I'm yet to see it. So, and you asked about legacy. I'd like people to know that I was just a working class guy with no ambition for politics, but I got in because it was a will of the Australian people. It wasn't because I deserved it. No one deserves it. It didn't fall into my lap. It was the will of the Australian people who voted. They wanted to see a change. They had their preferences, they had their primaries, and they just wanted to see something different.
Yeah.
And quite often people asked, why should I vote for you? I've been a Liberal voter my whole life. Why should I not vote for the Liberal Party? I'll tell you this. And as Carlos eloquently put it, you know, if you think the last 15 years has been all hunky-dory, sure, vote. Vote the way you're voting. But don't cry about it when it doesn't turn out the way you expect it. But if you think it's been absolute schmozzle, and it's been an absolute crazy, nasty thing out there, vote for us. Give us a crack. We won't let you down.
Yeah. I was talking to Ben Hood. I had Ben Hood last week, and he said, look, at the end of the day, we've got to respect One Nation, you know, their fellow members of Parliament, and, you know, I'll work with them when I can, and I will criticise them when I can.
Yeah.
Do you feel, for you so far, have the Liberals played ball with you? Do you feel like, have they been nice to you? Or?
Yeah, it's not combative. There's no animosity. There is that element.
Snarky comments, no...
No, I don't believe so. I mean, there's always the healthy
What about with
level.
the Labor Party? Are they being...
there's always that healthy level of banter in chamber.
Yeah. What about behind the scenes? Have they been...
No, behind the scenes, everyone's got a job to do.
Yeah.
And there are some things that don't need politics or banter. You just want to get things done, particularly for my electorate. Mainly roads, health. You just want this stuff done.
And do they come talk to you like them?
Yeah, we'll have chats. I'll come to their office, or they'll come to mine.
What about the Greens?
The who?
The Greens.
The who?
Have you had any sort of...
Nah, I got no interest.
No Robert Sims down the hallway?
I met him once.
Yep.
And I shook his hand, and I was like, oh, what's your name? Because I didn't recognise him at first.
That's good.
And
he would love that. He would like, what?
I wasn't being rude
yeah.
or disrespectful. I hadn't recognised him. And sort of in the first week, you're just sort of getting the hang of things. You're still kind of lost in this rabbit warren of corridors and hallways.
He's trying to see Robert Sims. He's trying to make excuses, mate. He didn't know who you were, mate. That's how irrelevant you are, Robert Sims. I'm sorry.
Well, there's only two of them in the upper house.
Yeah.
So,
well, fair enough. There you go. Only two Greens. Thank God. There's only two Greens in the house. Be great if there was none. And to be fair,
the Greens changed so much.
Well, they used to be.
When I was young, they were all about fighting to save trees, fighting to help koalas, animal rights.
Oh, hippies.
I wouldn't say hippies, but they had some genuine concerns. And then it's just transformed into this massive woke machine.
Yeah.
And it is just disgusting. And we saw that when Corey Bernardi gave his maiden speech. And the moment where he's talking about that they will oppose genital mutilation on children, they walked out.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So where and how do you think it's okay for children to mutilate their genitals to adhere to some wokeism belief?
Yes.
Wokeist belief, sorry.
The sad thing is, like, and the Greens probably don't realise this, but they probably think this is the issue. If the Greens did stick to their guns and just literally just focus on the environment and kept out of like the social stuff, that'd actually be a pretty powerful party.
Yeah.
But now they're just the party of delusion, to be honest. And this is, you don't have to agree with me, but I just think they're literally mentally ill. Like, to vote for the Greens, you have to be somewhat mentally ill. Like, I'm all depressed, and I'm not throwing judgment here or shade. I'm just saying, the mental health issues are skyrocketing. I think it's like 50% of women, someone fact check me on this, are now on anxiety medicine.
Really?
You know, it's really bad. Like, people aren't happy. You got 30% of men who will never have sex in their lives. They're incels. You've got, and also femcells is increasing. You've got women who will never have sex in their lives or find partners. You know, secularism's up. Spiritually, people are fully asleep. And I said before, if the world went to a fallout, and you had a bunch of people who all believe in just their vehicle meat sacks, essentially, is that the kind of place you want to be around? Do you want to be around a bunch of people who just think they're meat sacks? Like, it's a terrifying thought. And I
you're
think
stardust and you're just completely irrelevant, and
yeah,
you know that morality is subjective. Of course, it does. It'd be a terrible place to live.
And I'm afraid that Parliament, unfortunately, has echoed that. Not obviously, it's beautiful having you guys come through because you're like a jolt of energy coming through Parliament, but for far too long, it just feels like Parliament has turned into this soulless chamber. And even when I worked there, like, I remember my first day, I walked in, excited, like, oh yeah, we can make some change. And it just quite quickly, I was like, damn, this place just feels like a school, like a high school.
It is a school.
Yeah, you know, honestly, no offense to anyone, sorry guys at Parliament, but Parliament for me, literally the best way to describe it was, it was like a high school, but all the cool kids left and we're just left with the losers. That's what it felt like, at least at my time, because this is pre-One Nation, by the way. We only had one nation person there. So,
at the time.
At the time, yeah, when I was there. So it just felt like, yeah, I went to high school, but all the losers stayed and all the cool people left, and I'm just surrounded by a bunch. I'm like, these people are running our state? Like, really? And there'll obviously some good cuts in there. We had like Ben Hood, who I really adore. I think he's fantastic. He was the only member of Parliament that was at Charlie Kirk's tribute in Adelaide after he was assassinated. So I have a huge respect for Ben Hood. And to be fair, Ashton Hearn and a few others have been more promising, like courageous. So I am noticing that the Liberal Party is being a little bit more courageous. And I hope you guys being there as One Nation can kind of help the Liberal Party get back on their feet. Because I think at the end of the day, you look at Robert Menzies, right? And this man won 7 elections or something, right? Robert Menzies took a disjointed conservative movement of many different conservative parties and create a coalition and help create one of the best federal parties Australia's ever seen in its history, right? Obviously, the last 30 years have been an absolute disaster in terms of migration policy, economic policy, and just whatever they did, right, was ridiculous. But if you look at earlier than that, they did a fantastic job. So I'm just hoping that One Nation, if anything, can be an absolute lightning rod of positivity, Christ energy, goodness, good people like you in there, because that rubs off, you know, that energy will come off in Parliament. Because if you're just surrounded by a bunch of losers, losers lose. But now we've got some winners in there. I'm hoping that will change. Have you noticed a shift at all? Like, you've only been there for a short time, but...
It's been a short time. There is a healthy level of respect across the chamber, like for government, opposition, despite the banter.
Yeah.
Sit down, you can have a chat with everyone, even though like you would be, your views are dynamically opposed, but you're still outside of the chamber. You're getting along, you're having a chat. Yeah. You're sort of acknowledging, well, they're human too.
Yeah,
with regards to the Liberals, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
So they have to help themselves first. And if we can collaborate and help each other in regards to policy or our electorates, which has happened before, but if they want to be that conservative voice, they have to start acting like it.
Yeah.
They can't keep pandering to the left, to the centre left. They can't keep doing that. It's up to them. That's their prerogative and how they function and move forward as a party. That's up to them. We're not going to be their leg up, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like, and I'll say this publicly. I told Vincent Tarzia many times because we used to battle about this. Oh, we've got to win the centre. You got to win the centre. And the Liberals always tell me, "Oh, we got to win the centre." I'm like, how'd that work out for you, mate? How did winning the centre work out for you? No, people don't care about winning the centre. People want courageous people who stand by their values, who have a sense of identity, and luckily for us, typically conservative people are on the side of moral, objective reality. So you mix objective reality, moral reality, with someone who's brave and courageous. That's a winning formula. I don't know why, it's not rocket science. I don't know why the Liberals just couldn't see that and why they were blinded by this. But you know what? At the end of the day, if One Nation comes through and becomes a dominant party, and the Libs are going to do this little moderate thing, that's fine. They can do that. But at least we have a strong party. And for One Nation, I guess my message for you and for One Nation is don't become the next Liberal Party. You know, don't go, oh no, we've got to start winning the centre. We can't say that because we're going to offend the centre. It's like, no. As soon as that starts happening, the people will smell it. Do you feel like that is a real risk that One Nation might happen in 10 or 20 years?
I don't think it's a risk at all, no, because every single one of us, at least that I know, that ever I've met, they're all genuine, down-to-earth people, and they wear their heart on their sleeves. They call a spade a spade. There's no mucking about.
And you think that culture will remain with One Nation? That's not going to alter?
Culture war in which regards?
Oh, just in terms of One Nation's like fabric, the way it is. Do you think that will permeate throughout its next 10 to 20 years? Because the Liberal Party once were that conservative party that were like that. You know, they call themselves a broad church, but now none of them go to church. So besides a few, maybe. But do you feel like One Nation won't lose its way in the next 10 to 20 years? Like, really
I believe One
that?
Nation will remain strong and steady and will remain the strongest voice in opposition to the government.
Yeah, okay. And what do you think is going to be key to that moving forward?
Unity.
Unity?
Unity. We're a close-knit team. We ain't falling apart. No matter what the critics say, they can say what they want. We're a strong team.
Yeah, what's that been like with the media? You know, obviously you've been attacked by the media quite a bit. Pauline Hanson gets constantly attacked for going on holiday. I mean, the woman's, what, in her 70s, 80s, right?
Yeah, 70s.
Just let her enjoy her life. She's like, at the end, like she's an older lady. Let her go and enjoy Europe before it turns into the next DayZ. Like, let her go and enjoy it before it falls apart completely. Come on.
Politicians are human too.
Yeah.
So everyone deserves a holiday. Everyone deserves a break from the work because it can get quite heavy some days. You know, you're dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
So everyone deserves a break. But you can see that it's a well-organised media machine that's running against One Nation because they're scared. They're worried.
Yeah.
They know we're coming after them.
Do you think like the biggest criticism I get from both the left and the right, because obviously I talk to the left and the right, both sides, right? Is like, oh, there's too much foreign interest with One Nation. They're becoming like the next Liberals or the next Labor, because the Greens like to do this whole
foreign interest, like when Albo attended a billionaires party.
Yeah, I saw that. Chinese.
Yeah,
was it Chinese? Yeah.
It was a Chinese billionaires party or something like that, and he couldn't even admit to it.
Yeah,
man, just
say
up.
Yeah,
just,
I know.
You know,
what a pussy. Yeah, just say it.
If you went there, you went there. Just man up and say you was there.
It's exactly how he treated the budget. Oh, look, we just had to change our
Every
position.
party's got their own donors and vested interests.
Yeah.
If you're transparent and honest about it, and, you know, if you're trying to hide it, that's not going to look good.
Yeah.
If you're upfront and transparent, you know, what are you hiding? It's fine.
Well, I guess it's just the reason they hide it because they don't want to feed the conspiracy. But then when you hide it, you're feeding the conspiracy in your own nature. So you got to kind of remain like. At the end of the day, look, foreign interests and foreign lobbying will always play a part in politics, and I guess that's why the Australian Lobby Group exists, because the Australian Lobby Group is trying to create this environment where it's like, let's just have a lobby group that's purely for Australia. You know, because the thing is, for me, like theoretically, I have no problem with Australia getting involved with other foreign nations, right? But before we can start getting involved with foreign nations, how about we sort out our own backyard first? How about we clean our own room up? You know. How about we fix our economy? How about we get some productivity going up? How about we, fix the inflation issue? How about we get wages up again? How about we create a diverse economy that does more than just dig out dirt and banking? Like, maybe let's start there, and then we can go help out if we need to. I'm not saying we have to, but sure. But right now, Australia is a failed economy. We have the same diversity as Mongolia and South Africa. Like, we are in a terrible spot. Let's fix that, and then we can worry about the foreign stuff. Do you think we can find that balance, or...?
We're going to have to.
Yeah.
We absolutely have to. If we don't, we're going to fail. We're going to fall flat on our face. Australia needs to keep moving forward. That means fixing our economy, helping individual lives, reducing red tape, reducing taxes. You know, you can't overspend either.
Yeah.
There has to be a cap to how much the government can spend, and draw back on the wastage. When you see them handing off millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars here and there, how much do they give to Papua New Guinea for the football, basketball team, whatever it was? Did that really have to be spent? Couldn't you have spent that on investment into the defence industry for for all of Australian? Why not?
Yeah, it's like with the SA Voice. How much did that cost? A couple,
Yeah,
$3 million?
exactly right.
So, yeah.
You cut back on the wastage, you control spending, things will start to get better.
So do you think South Australia could be a state where One Nation kind of showcases what it can truly do? Because a lot of haters and doubters out there will go, well, One Nation talks a good game, but can actually do it, can actually make it happen. Like, do you think you guys have the skills and capabilities to make this actually happen? Mm-hmm. Do you feel confident in that?
Despite that we're, I guess you would call us green, because we're working class guys. We're not ex-politicians or staffers or union staffers or lawyers. We're just, straight in from...
Salt of the earth.
Yeah, the salt of the earth. We've come in. But I think that's an advantage. Why not?
Yeah.
We come in with that attitude, we can do this. They may dismiss us as being a populist group or lack of policies. Give us that chance, and we're here. One Nation South Australia, we're going to be leading the way. You wait till the next federal election. I mean, Victorian election's not that long away. You've got the federal election in 2 years' time. We're making waves.
And for you, you're quite young, right? How old are you?
I'm 38.
Yeah, so you're quite young. And you've got a family?
Yes.
Having figures like Corey Bernardi, Pauline Hanson, even
Barnaby Joyce,
has that been helpful for you in terms of you
absolutely.
mentioned yourself being green, but you do have seniors out there who
absolutely.
Has that rubbed off on you?
They're well-refined politicians. They know what they're doing. They've been in the game long enough, and they're great mentors. Pick up the phone. Hey, I've got this problem. I pick up the phone. I'll call Carlos. I'll call Corey. I can even call Barney. I don't mind. It's just, hey, I've got this problem. What do you think? We work as a team.
Yeah.
So we don't let things sit and fester. Or what do I do? What do I do? You're not on your own. We're a team for a reason.
And do you feel like that? Some of the criticism was, One Nation's a Queensland party. Do you feel that, or do you feel like South Australia is at the forefront of One Nation? Like, do you feel like the South Australian One Nation team is South Australia first?
You can't just call it a Queensland party. I mean, wouldn't Labor be a Queensland party? I mean, they've got members in Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales, Western Australia. The party's spread out, but it all begins somewhere.
Yeah. So you're saying it doesn't really matter the source. If polls are polling,
because I'm only a phone call away from One Nation headquarters or Pauline or Barney or any others. I'm just a phone call away. That distance doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay. So, look, before I leave you to it, because I'm trying to say thank you for giving up so much of your time and stuff, is there anything in particular that you feel like the people of South Australia, the people of Australia need to hear from you, or a message you would like to deliver? Because, I've been using the Adelaide Set and my platform, my podcast, as to try and almost create a window so people can kind of see into One Nation, what they're up to here in the state. And I really want to make sure that the people out there can understand that you guys are working hard. Like, Carlos is always non-stop on the phone. You're always busy.
We're always out
trying to
there.
lock this guy down, mate. It's hard, He's Rebecca coming on next week. You guys are a hard-working team. Is there anything that you could share with the audience that would help them feel safer, or at least feel like they're a part of the team in some way, and what you guys are up to in South Australia?
It doesn't matter where you are in South Australia, we're here to fight for you. Fight for your rights, fight for your education, fight for your life. We're here for you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much, George.
And I appreciate everything, and obviously we'll get you back as things progress, and it's exciting, and I'm really happy that we finally got to have this chat, because when we initially had that big team chat, I didn't really get to hear too much from all of you guys, and you guys were very new at that point. But I feel like you guys have all grown into your role. And just so you know, audience and followers, and just to you as well, it's very, very positive to hear members of Parliament being brave. Seeing Rebecca and Chantel outside of Parliament when the abortion bill was happening, getting spat on, shot, and not being afraid to be in public in such a hostile environment was incredible. Seeing someone like you be proud to share your Christian values, talk about theology, talk about the importance of Christian identity in Australia, these are very promising signs, and I take great happiness in hearing you speak like that, and I think our audience would really respect that as well. And also for Charlie Kirk's legacy and the Orthodox Church and all of Christianity itself, just want to say thank you for being there and for putting your hand up, stepping out of that ferry and getting involved. We needed it, and yeah, keen to have more chats in the future.
Excellent. Thank you for your time, mate.
Appreciate it.